What's going on, Empire Builders? We are here with Mike Stenger, one of the coolest last names I've had on the show for sure. This is episode number 53. So excited to have you here spending some of your time with me today. Mike, how's it going, man?
It's going great. How about yourself?
Awesome, man. We were just talking before the call here about how you are in San Diego and I'm in LA. Unfortunately, I'm moving across the country here soon, so I'm going to leave the sunshine behind, but I'm glad to still have friends out that way so we can collaborate and learn some stuff from you. But I wanted to have you on the show today because you are a badass copywriter slash freelancer, and I think what you've done would really benefit my audience. So before we get into some of the juicy content and all that fun stuff, why don't you, in your own words, describe a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so as Brian said, I'm a copywriter. I mostly work with online businesses that have their own digital products and services, and I help more on the direct response, more on the sales side. So everything from sales pages to email sequences, landing pages, things of that nature. And I've been in San Diego about 3.5 years now, originally from Ohio, from the Cincinnati area, which I'm sure Brian's familiar with. And yeah, that's where I spend most of my time. And I also have a big kind of background in social media marketing. I used to do that stuff as well. And just a huge personal development fan. I'm kind of a fanatic when it comes to that stuff, just improving yourself and all that.
Cool, man. Well, how long have you been doing copywriting or marketing in general?
Yeah, so I've been doing the copywriting for about 4 years full time, and then before that, like I said, I did some social media stuff. So a lot of consulting and managing social media accounts for small businesses.
Okay, and then why did you ultimately settle on copywriting? I know a lot of people in my community, they kind of struggle with what exactly they should offer. And I feel like, honestly, Sue, sorry for the long version of this question, but I just feel like so many people feel like they need to be Facebook ad experts. Like they see ads on, and just like, you don't need to do all of those things or chatbots or whatever. Like if you have skills, like focus on that and people will pay you money for it. But I'm just curious for you, why'd you focus on copywriting?
Yeah, so I focused on copywriting because I've always found myself to be kind of a writer at heart. And so I've always been doing that, even in high school, would do a lot of writing. And so first and foremost, it's always been a passion of mine. And, the boring but true story is I kind of just fell into it. So, I was already writing and doing some of that stuff. And then, you know how it is. You just discover something kind of changes your mind, and then you come across another thing. It's like, oh, well, maybe there's something here. And so I just kind of went all in on that and pretty much left the social media stuff I was doing behind and just focused strictly on copywriting and getting as good as I could at that craft. And eventually things started working out. But, whenever you kind of just go all in on something, and you make a shift, there's that period where it's a little scary. It's like, oh, well, what if this doesn't work out? What if this just completely goes to crap and nothing happens? But eventually you're fine.
Yeah, and dude, honestly, I love that advice so much because you were willing to put in the time and energy to find what you liked to ultimately do. I feel like a lot of people, they let the infinite number of choices make them almost, scare them into not making any decisions at all. And so they never get started. So what advice would you have for someone, or what were the kind of things you did to kind of get you through that mental barrier of, this might not work, but screw it, I'm going to go figure it out?
Yeah, you have to have a focus. You have to just cut out all the distractions and just really get down. And this is kind of what I talk about with my copywriting and writing better copy, is just really figuring out your why. Like, why are you doing this? What do you want to have happen? Like, what's the ultimate goal? What's your ultimate objective with this? And so you need to just really get laser focused on what it is you want and then work around that.
That's good advice, man. Really good advice. I'm sure you've read it, but the book Start With Why by
Yes.
Simon
Yep.
Sinek.
Simon Sinek. Yep.
Yeah. I actually just pulled that back out because it's so good. And it just reminds you to stay focused on why you started this in the first place. Because personally, in my own experience, when you get into the day-to-day, the grind starts to kick in, you hit challenges, it's really easy to forget why you started doing this. And instead of being grateful, you start to complain. So I think reminding yourself of that is really, really important.
Yeah, and not to interrupt or kind of take
No,
away from
please.
anything, but I think it's important too to really, you mentioned gratitude, having that gratitude and focusing on the good stuff, because there are going to be plenty of days when everything is just going to be a disaster, when you're going to have projects back to back just fall through, and it's going to be like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out. I have the rent due, I have these bills due, and it's really stressful. But just focusing on the good stuff and knowing that things go in cycles. So one day, 1 week, things are going to be amazing. You'll have an amazing month, and then, the bad stuff will pop up. But it's just a cycle, and you just have to kind of stick with it and just deal with the bad stuff to get more of the good stuff.
Right. Now, without context, this probably won't be as funny, but have you seen a video of the kid on the zip line flying through the forest? It's like the day in the life of an entrepreneur. Yeah. And he goes from like screaming and like terrified, like I'm going to die, to being so excited and this is awesome, and back and forward. Like it's that same emotional roller coaster. And the extremes in those ups and downs vary from time to time. But I think once you understand that it's part of it and you accept it as part of the process, then you're good. I mean, but I think also protecting your passions and your business. So don't go all in before it's too soon. Have a side income if you're not earning enough.
Right.
And, maybe you can speak to that. What was the transition like for you? What were you doing before you did this full time? And how did you kind of make that transition?
Yeah. So like I said, I was doing some social media marketing stuff. So I had some money saved up from that. And then also I was co-owner of a social media news site. This is a handful of years back, and we ended up selling that. And so I had a little nest egg from that. And that was around the time when I started kind of transitioning more to the copywriting stuff. So yeah, I had that kind of backup to deal with. And I love Gary Vaynerchuk, and I love all this stuff about, just going all in and hustling and going after your passion. But yeah, you don't want to be completely blind. Like you should go after your passion. You should, focus on something specific. But at the same time, you need to be a little bit logical about it, or things can definitely get a little sketchy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was in college and working 2 part-time jobs for years while I was building my business. And by the time it finally got to a point where, okay, now it makes sense to do this full-time, is when I did it. I didn't just dive in with $0 and hope that it would work out. You really got to protect your passion and your business by doing it the right way. So I love that you did that yourself. You had a backup or something to fall back on if you absolutely needed it, and money to pay the rent, because you don't have a place, internet, rent, all those things. You can't cover that. It's going to be really, really difficult to build a business.
Yeah. I mean, you have the library. Library has free internet, but I don't know if you can sleep in there.
Yeah, I don't think so. So cool, man. What I know my audience absolutely loves is hearing about how other people are finding and keeping clients. Now, you've worked with some amazing companies like Traffic and Funnels. I love those guys' content, so I'm sure you've had a hand in it. So you've worked with some incredible people and brands. What would your advice be for people who want to go find clients, but they're struggling to do that right now?
Yeah, so, I might be a little bit different than some people, but a lot of my clients come through social media. So they come through Facebook, through just networking, through relationships I've built. And then I also try to put out as great content as I can. And then, I also run some ads and stuff to some lead magnets, checklists, things like that. So I think it really comes down to just, and this is something I've been kind of fixated on lately, is, I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Abraham, his strategy of preeminence, but just becoming the most trusted advisor to your clients, to, whatever it is that they need help with, being that person, and just being all about service. So doing your best to really help them, and also to help them and serve them in a way that doesn't even if it doesn't make you money, you still help them. And so I think that's where you really need to start, because I mean, let's be honest, there are hundreds, thousands of other people just like us who are doing what we are doing. And so you need a way to really differentiate yourself. And one of the ways you do that is by just being all about service and just really helping people, even in the times when it's not going to make you money.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really comes down to relationships. I mean, it's funny, like everyone's always caught up on the next new shiny thing. Like, oh, I need to go do a Facebook group or chat bots. It's like that stuff could be gone in a few years. What was here 1,000 years ago, what'll be here in 1,000 years is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And how you and I met, man, was in San Diego at a live event where we were both there to literally build relationships.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, what would be good advice for me personally, I tell this to my community, is if you feel uncomfortable going and doing those things, like, get over it. You're going to have to do it. And the first couple times are going to suck. But if you force yourself into doing it a couple times, like my second time going to TNC, my first time I knew no one. Second time it felt like I knew everyone. I was like hugging people, like walking into parties. It was really strange. But I'm telling you, man, those relationships are key to getting the introductions you need. But then I also think it's important, not to go off in too much of a tangent, but that you define who you specifically serve. So you're a copywriter for course creators and people like that, experts. Mm-hmm. Having a defined niche when you go and meet people helps them refer you, because if you can tell them exactly what you do, it's so easy for them to tell you who the right people are to meet. I mean, it sucks for some people, but I met them at TNC and they'd be like, I do digital marketing for small to medium-sized businesses. And I would just like bite my tongue and be like, well, who do you actually serve? I want to help you. Like, I'll refer you if I can. Just tell me what the hell it is you do.
Right.
So yeah, tell us more about, I guess, the relationship building piece. What do you do to start a relationship with someone you want to work with that you don't know yet, and kind of do that without being, all those random people online who are just hitting them up for favors?
Yeah. So I think it's really important to kind of, qualify. So really important to know what it is they do, like what it is they're working on, and just all the questions around them. That's a big thing with me, is I ask a lot of questions. I think it goes back to the saying, there's a reason you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so I just ask a lot of questions. And so I try to understand as much as I can. And through that understanding, I can get a better idea of, well, is this person the right fit? And can I actually help them?
Yeah. I've never heard that saying. That's absolute gold. I might have to steal that one sometime.
I thought everyone knew that saying.
It's a good one, though. And it's absolutely right. But I love that you're approaching them with questions. And one of the people I met down at TNC, I know we keep going back to that, but he was just like, this guy had closed millions of dollars in sales, and his whole approach to sales was just asking questions. He'd ask for permission about everything. Hey, can I tell you about this? What do you think about this? And that's all he would do, just ask them questions until they came to their own answers.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I love that advice. So now let's talk about how you're keeping clients. A big thing that I like to teach my community is how to build more recurring revenue. I know going full time can be scary because you don't want to live check to check. How are you keeping clients and building, more recurring revenue into your business?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to what I was talking about as far as service goes. So really being a person of your word. If you say you're going to do something, then you do it. And then if something happens, if crap hits the fan, then you just own up to it. You communicate it quickly and honestly, and you just, I know it's not the answer that people want, but it's just you do the freaking work. Like, if you tell someone you're going to do something, you just do the work. And if you're not able to do something to the level that you said you're going to do it, then just be honest with people. And so one way I keep clients is I'm just all about trying my best to keep my word and just helping them the best way I can. And if I screw up, I screw up. And, if I don't, then that is also good as well. And just building that kind of that trust with people, so that they can trust you, and that they know, okay, well, this guy, this girl, whoever, like they seem really genuine, they seem really authentic, and they are honest. And that's really what whatever it is we need, that's kind of who we're looking for, to work with, are these people that we can really trust.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember too, when I was just getting started, I'd be scared to break bad news to my clients. And it's not something I would know how to give direct advice on, but what you were just sharing is ideal. Just try and be as transparent as possible. I mean, let the cards fall where they will, and you'll feel better about yourself at the end of the day, even if you ultimately lose a client.
Yeah. And also just being and getting more comfortable with just telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I'll have people approach me all the time who want to do this thing or they want to do that thing. And the more we talk about it, it's like, well, here's the reality with this, and here's why I don't think this will work. And yeah, in those situations, it's not going to make me money because we're not going to work on it because of XYZ. But I'm being straight up with them, and we need a lot more of that. We need less BS and just kind of string people along. And
yeah, for sure, man. Well, I thought what was interesting was people like, Frank Kern, they don't use testimonials at all. They don't really share the results of the people they've worked with. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but he just uses his authority to, be the person that people want to go to. I'm just thinking in terms of having to generate like legitimate results for people and setting expectations. Like if you have a case study with one client, you earn them millions of dollars, and that's the thing you're sending everyone to, and that's their expectation that you're going to make them $1 million, you can have that relationship start off on the wrong foot. So definitely there's that balance of wanting to share past experience and results, but setting the right expectations so you're not put in a situation where you have to have a rough phone call with the client and tell them something you don't want to have to tell them, like, hey, you're not going to make $1 million this year, even though I promised you would.
Yeah.
So awesome, Mike. Well, this advice has been extremely valuable. I mean, I know a lot of people in here, they're struggling to keep clients. And I love your just classical approach, man. Like it's like you said, it's probably not the answer most people want to hear, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Like if you want to build a long lasting, sustaining business, it's built on relationships. And if you can build those in the right ways without being a scumbag, they can open a lot of potential doors for you.
Yeah. And real quick before we finish up with this, like, I know it's not like super advanced strategies and stuff, but this simple stuff, like this foundational stuff is critical. So if you can get the foundational stuff right, and if you can just focus on just the simplicity of things, that stuff will really help you build a successful business. And, we're, like you touched on, where people are always chasing after these new things. If you just focus on just the basics and get those right, then that can add up to a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes back again to relationships. I've gotten clients so many different ways, but my best, longest term clients have all been through relationships that I've built before they signed up, and then building and investing in the relationships long term after the fact. So it's, that old school stuff, guys, it's really going to get you where you want to go. And I think just one last example that I'll throw out there, someone who I've been learning from recently, Adam Urbanski, he has a 7-figure coaching program all organically. He literally just uses Facebook messages and has built a multi-million-dollar business by building relationships with people. So, whether 6 figures is your goal, whether quitting your part-time job or getting to 7 figures even, this old school relationship building stuff can work. You just have to do it the right way and be patient with it.
Yeah.
So Mike, where can people go if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah. So I'm on this up and coming new social network called the Facebook. You can hit me up on there, just same name, Mike Stenger, and then also hit up my website, mikestenger.com.
Cool, man. I will drop the links below. But I heard Facebook sells your information to advertisers who want to show you ads. How could they?
What?
Yeah.
This is news to me. This is amazing. I'm gonna have to delete my account. So yeah. I guess don't.
Thank you again, Mike, so much for being here. You are the man, and I can't wait to get to know you a little bit more and share this great content with my community. Have a great day, man.
Awesome. You too.